Salam, my people. So, just the other day, I was just reading the news, scrolling through articles, and I came across something that got my attention. It was talking about Ukraine. Well, first of all, this is something that I really was thinking was kind of like behind us now, so I wasn't really thinking that make a video about it or reaction rather. But it just got my attention and triggered some thinking and actually a lot of wondering because I'm always wondering why as Africans we're belittled, and it's always in so many different ways. So this particular article was talking about Ukraine and pretty much like interacting with Africans, because at the end of the day, whether it's a government, whether, it's African institutions, it's the people that's behind all of this. But first of all, let me go back, start from the beginning, because we all saw how, they, Ukrainians, interact with us. And well, maybe a lot of people didn't really know, but up until this war broke out between them and Russia, and as people were fleeing the country, we saw how they were, what their attitude towards Africans, was like. You have people trying to get out the war zone, and they're stopping people, and just not letting them out, not letting them to get to safety. Meanwhile, they let out Ukrainians. They're letting out, others, non-Ukrainian citizens out, whether they be Europeans and other groups of people. But when it came to black people specifically, their attitude was very different. You're not leaving. You're staying here until all our people get out first, and then you get out. And when questions started being asked, a lot of noise was being made. You heard certain things like, oh, we're not letting out men, it's the women and children that are getting out first and whatnot. And to some degree they actually were discouraging men from leaving because they could join a fight. But when a couple of videos showed otherwise, there were a lot of African women that were stranded at the borders. Some of them were those like the Polish borders, other borders, but there were a lot of different, entry points or, exit for this case. And they were not letting people leave. So that kind of, exposed a lot, how they as a people, view us. And then another thing that they were actually doing were after telling people that they couldn't leave, stopping them from leaving, they're all of a sudden trying to give out guns to black people and saying, "Hey, you're not leaving. Instead of leaving, come here and fight. Fight for us." And I found that rather disturbing. But back to this article, this article mentioned pretty much how the excuse me, how the Ukrainian government or different government officials, are first they were pressuring African unions, you know condemn Russia, take a strong stance against them, and some of them did that because it wasn't just them that did that. A lot of different parts of the world did that, but some of them, however, did not, and that's their choice. Whether they want to speak on what to speak on or what not to speak on. So I saw that not only were they pressuring African governments to condemn Russia, they were pressuring the African Union itself, which represents all the different African governments, to even take a stronger stance than just condemn it. They wanted them to go beyond that. And it didn't just end there. And this is why I find this this as disturbing as it is. The next thing, they're in a bunch of different African countries, asking for money. And then you ask yourself, this is the so-called, European country that's so civilized, that's so developed. They're asking us, the poor people, the unable people, to help them condemn Russia. They're calling African citizens to go there and fight. There, I think Senegal and a few different African countries, had to tell them, hey, listen. I think Nigeria was another one, and amongst others, they were telling them, hey, listen, stop calling Africans to come there and fight. If you look at some of their what's it called, their ambassadors were actually some of the ones, making posts, Facebook posts, all over social media, asking people to, come join us and whatnot. And on top of that, they had to pay to go to Ukraine and fight. They had to pay to leave Africa to go to Ukraine, and then they had to go there and fight. It doesn't stop there. So today, this was a few days ago that I read the Ukrainian leaders with the AU thing. But then it just gets more and more deeper as time goes, and I don't know when it's gonna stop, or at what point they're gonna say, okay, let's just mind our business here and focus on this fight. So yesterday I read another article that was talking about the Ukrainian president now demanding to address the Kenyan parliament. And then, shout out to Kenya, though. Shout out to the Kenyan government. They said no. But they're demanding to address the Kenyan parliament pretty much based on their stance for not doing more than they have already done. Kenya was one of the, first countries that, responded to that and, saying, this is, not like, pretty much let's talk about it. But so it just all, comes together. And the main problem is many of these nations, especially in that region, the European region, this is their attitude towards Africans. And it's all because somehow they see us as less of them, When they're in a situation where they can use us, to their benefit, they will do that. When it's a situation where, we could use each other, to each other's benefit, they will not do that. They're not willing to. When it's a lose situation for them and a win for us, or forget about that because it's just not happening. So it just find it troubling because it comes down to not just their government, not just their representatives, but their people. And I just it kind of just makes me want to say, hey, listen, you guys should just focus on your work because you guys got it. You guys don't need our help. Y'all fighting, y'all holding them off, y'all doing good. So I think you guys are good. But stop running around, stop bothering our people, stop pressing our people to condemn them, take a stance, come here and fight, give us money, all this nonsense, because it's just, it's becoming ridiculous at this point. If you ask me, that's my opinion. But yes, until next time, guys.